All right, everybody, welcome back to another video. And today is November the 16th of 2025. And today we will be talking about the BYU TCU game played yesterday at LaVell Edwards Stadium. And that's coming up right after this. Welcome back to Just Justin. And today, I'm Justin, and today we'll be doing a BYU review. Yes, we'll be doing BYU. TCU came to LaVell Edwards Stadium and was taking on the BYU Cougars. All right, so TCU comes into Provo on a 5-game winning streak. So BYU, like I said in my thoughts video, BYU and TCU has met up 12 times. This is the 13th time. TCU currently leads at 7-5, and they're currently on a 5-game win streak. How will TCU do today? Well, let's talk about it, okay? So BYU, they're number 12 in the country, and they responded to last week's loss against Texas Tech pretty convincingly today or last night, okay? They total dismantled of the TCU Saturday night, okay? I mean, it was a good game. Okay, so BYU won 44-13, kind of like in 2023 where TCU won 44-11. TCU scored 2 more points than we did. Well, BYU did back in 2023 when I was played down at Fort Worth, okay? Okay, so yeah, last night's victory earned its first victory over the Horned Frogs since 2007. Okay, so that's pretty good. So now BYU is 6 and TCU is 7. So they played 13 games. TCU still leads the series, but it'll even out over the next course of the few years while we're still in the Big 12. Okay? All right, so let's talk about BYU's freshman quarterback. Yes, he's a true freshman. I mean, I heard that quite a bit yesterday. But it's all right, okay? So freshman quarterback Bear Brockner put up together perhaps the best overall career performance as a BYU Cougar so far. Okay, he completed 23 of 33 passes and 296 yards, okay? And at a 70% completion rate while adding 59 rushing yards. Okay? So, sorry. So yeah, he rushed 59 yards. And LJ Martin only ran for 88 yards. So you have those two big, old, huge factors right there in the rushing. It was kind of cool watching them bounce back from the loss last week at Texas Tech. And TCU came into the game, trying to dominate BYU on that rushing game. But BYU's offensive line just stood up and was like, hey, you know what? We're not taking this anymore, man. And they made lanes. Okay, they made some good lanes for not only for Bear but for LJ. And the offensive attack was awesome. So last night, the tight end Carsen Ryan had a career night with BYU. Okay, he had a 43-yard touchdown reception. I mean, that's pretty good. And LJ Martin, like I said before, he ran for 88 yards, and he also had a touchdown on the ground. So it was pretty nice. Okay, it's nice to see LJ Martin not back quite to 100%, but he was better than last week, coming off that bye week and that injury he had earlier in the season. Okay, so defensively, BYU dominated TCU, and TCU only managed 15 first downs and went 1 for 10. 1 for 10 on third downs. And quarterback Josh Hoover throwing, he threw for a season low of 183 yards. Yeah, 183 yards and 2 interceptions. And one of those interceptions was a pick six for none other than Wall. I mean, he had another pick six. Well, technically it wasn't a pick six, but he ran all the way down to the 1 yard line, denied scoring the touchdown. But last night, he intercepted the ball and ran for that score. And that just put the nail in the coffin for TCU. All right. After that, it was basically over. Well, it was over a little bit before that. But yes, BYU played excellent on both sides of the ball. All right. So the offensive came out and they were a heck of a lot better than they were the week before. Chase Roberts had a good night. Kingston had a good night. And Kingston did not muff any punts, which is good. Bear did fumble at once, but he was already down. So, okay, let me a little word of advice here, Bear. When you are running the ball and you go down, you slide feet first. You don't dive, okay? Don't dive, all right? You can hurt yourself, and we don't need that. Hilson's a good quarterback, but Bear, take better care of yourself, okay? Yeah, just listen to me. I'm just a person who makes YouTube videos. Okay. So during the game, the first 7 times BYU touched the ball, they went down and scored. They did not punt the ball until the fourth quarter. Yeah, no punts until the fourth quarter. And then I think they had like 2, maybe 3. I don't know. But yeah, the first 7 times they scored. Yeah, granted some more field goals, which is fine. But they went down and scored. Okay, so BYU racked up a total of 447 total yards. We're going to go over the stats here in just a minute here. All right, so let's go over the stats right now. I'll bring out my trusty iPhone here. All right, so here are the team stats. TCU will be first, BYU be second. So plays of the game, TCU had 57, BYU had 72. Yards, 298 compared to 447. Yards per play, 5.2 compared to 6.2. Passing yards, 183, 296. Rushing yards, 115 compared to 151. First downs, 15 compared to 28. Third down efficiency, like I said before, BYU held TCU to 1 of 10, and BYU had 6 of 12. Fumbles lost. I must have missed that one. BYU had 1 fumble. They fumbled it once. I'm trying to think of that fumble. Maybe I was stepped out for a minute. And then interceptions thrown. TCU had 2. BYU had 0. Penalties, 6 for TCU for a total of 45 yards. BYU had 2 penalties for 25 yards. Time of possession, TCU 23:55 and BYU 36:05. So, yeah, I'm trying to think, where did that fumble come out? I don't know. I stepped away. I stepped away a few times because I was not feeling good and I was throwing up. But that's too much information. So BYU did bounce back after that loss to Texas Tech, which I think is a good thing. That they lost to Texas Tech, they bounced back, beat TCU, and now they are still in the hunt for the Big 12 championship. Okay, so right now in the conference, Texas Tech is 7-1, BYU is 6-1. And then Houston is 5-2, Utah is 5-2, ASU is 5-2, and Cincinnati is 5-2. All right? And Arizona is 4-3. We'll stop right there. Okay? So there's still a lot of hunt going on in the Big 12 championship. I mean, if BYU loses another time, it could a lot of things could happen. Okay? But we're not going to focus on that. We're just focusing on the game last night and how BYU came out and dominated TCU, not just offensively, but defensively. Okay? TCU couldn't hold the BYU's offense. The first 7 possessions of the game, I mean, they scored all 7 times. And that was like, okay, they didn't punt until that fourth quarter. TCU struggled. BYU's defense holding the quarterback to 183 yards, the first time that he's been held under 200 yards, which was pretty good. And I think it boosted the confidence of BYU back up. And I think they can go into Cincinnati next week and play a good game. Now, I don't think that game's going to be hyped as much. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But last night, BYU just, I don't want to say destroys TCU, but they beat TCU. And they sent a message. But most people will be like, well, TCU's not a very good team. TCU's only 3-4 in the conference now. They're not that good of a team. They're down there with Baylor and Kansas and Iowa State. Well, BYU beat Iowa State, and now they beat TCU. Okay? And so, yeah, I mean, there's critics out there all the time. I don't want to even mention that fan base, but a lot of people are just saying that, yeah, BYU doesn't deserve to be where they're at, and they can't even win teams as much as we can win teams, and blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, but last night's game was pretty good. I thought it'd be a lot colder, but it was in the like the 50s for most of the time. Now, I personally didn't go to the game. I sat at home, which is fine because I was not feeling very well. I hadn't felt very well all day, but it was a really good game. Okay, my hats off to the BYU defense. Okay, granted they didn't tackle all the time, but they were wrapping up. They weren't doing the shoelace tackles anymore. I think Keaton Parker kind of got injured last night, but we won't really go into that much detail. When he was running his jet sweep around the end, I think when the players hit his ankles and he scored, he was limping off, but let's just hope it's just a sprain or something like that. But, it is what it is, right? It's the name of the game. But BYU overall did a good job last night. They came out on fire and was determined to win the game, which they needed to keep their playoff hopes alive. We won't go to the playoffs quite yet. We'll just talk about the Big 12 championship. They're keeping their hopes alive, and they're going to be pretty much seeing Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship. So right now, the analysis is that Texas Tech has a 96 or 97% chance of making the Big 12 championship. BYU has a 70. Utah has 13, and Arizona State has like a 10% or something like that. So the 2 front runners right now for the Big 12 is BYU and Texas Tech. So BYU wins 44-13, and that moves them to 9-1 on the season. Next week, BYU travels to Cincinnati. Cincinnati's game is 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So yeah, BYU's time next week playing Cincinnati is 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So yeah, that is a pretty good time slot. We were thinking because Cincinnati hasn't been doing pretty good the past couple of weeks, we would not get a good time. Like we would get like a noon or a 10 o'clock, but no, it's actually playing at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, so that's pretty good. All right, so I did the video a little bit earlier in the day, but even though it hasn't come out yet until later, I did find out that Big Noon Kickoff is coming to Cincinnati, so it's going to be a good game. If Cincinnati won Arizona, it would have been a top 25 matchup, but Big Noon Kickoff will be there. BYU goes into Cincinnati next week. Not sure of their new ranking, because I don't think that's come out yet as of this video. And it's going to be a good game. BYU's got to win. And then they're kind of cement their chances in that Big 12 championship. But TCU, BYU, it was a good game. BYU finally snapped that 5-game winning streak. Gosh, they're one away from tying up TCU in the all-time series. But it was a good game. And BYU looks like they bounced back. So that was it, boys and girls, men and women. So on this channel, Just Justin, it's a no niche channel. I talk about BYU football. I do cooking videos. Well, I should really get back into cooking videos. I got away from that for a while because I was doing carnivore, but I'm not doing carnivore right now. So I just do random things here on Just Justin. And so if you're looking for something that's not a niche, just randomness, I wish I could get the ratings Seinfeld got, because that had a show about nothing. And they got a lot of good ratings. But it is what it is, right? All right, guys. Till the next one, I'll see you later. Bye. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. BYU football and other videos here on Just Justin. Subscribe and watch that other video.